Welcome to Intuitive Seek. My name is Mary Train, and as an intuitive guide, energy healer, and meditation teacher, I aim to bring you a grounded approach to all things energy and intuition. Everything I share is with the hope to help you remember how your unique power of intuition is your own greatest teacher. Hello and welcome. Welcome to your intuitive week, your energy update for the week of February 23rd. This is the final week of February, one of the biggest weeks from so many different astrological perspectives, a lot of astrology experts, that February was really and is full of a lot of intensity, endings and beginnings. And I do touch on the inspiration of astrology from more of an intuitive lens, but I do really try my best to kind of release the themes and the narratives around that weather when I go into the meditation for us, for our energy update. But I always love to see how it lines up, and it usually does because that weather is what I'm tuning into as well. We are all connected to it because we are not separate. So, having said all of that, this last week of February is interesting, and you'll see what came through in the meditation as I share. But the main thing I wanted to kind of touch on before I dive into what came through in the meditation is to make sure that you have a way to come back to your center, to come back to your breath, to come back to your heart. Because that energetic weather and with what came through in the meditation, we could be kind of pulled out of ourselves and our center a little bit more easily this week. And there is always lessons in remembering when that does happen. It's a great practice to know how to come back. If you've ever joined any of my live meditations, it's something that I share often before we go into the meditation is that if you get distracted when you're trying to center, if you get distracted when you're trying to drop into yourself and your intuition and into a meditation, especially a guided meditation, it can be really easy for us to say, oh, it's ruined or it didn't work, or start to get frustrated and really blame the outside forces for why something isn't working the way that you wanted or expected it to. So I say the same thing this week. If you have expectations, if there is something that you really want to go a certain way and it doesn't, come back to your center. Come back to what you've learned in your lifetime on how to come back from being pulled away, from being distracted, from being interrupted, instead of putting all of your energy on what happened and why you got distracted, why you were let down or disappointed or interrupted. Put the energy into how you can come back to what you want to focus on. Come back to why you even had those expectations in the first place. Basically, this week could be a big learning opportunity for many of us. Some modules for our soul, we could put that way. And not in a warning way, but yeah, just wanted to share that before we dive into the information that I experienced from the meditation. And yes, one other thing I wanted to share, was I had a beautiful synchronicity with the hummingbird from last week. And as you know, if you've listened before, when I share about the animal, it's about being inspired by what they symbolize, by what they represent, really allowing their themes to highlight or spotlight a part of your life that you may want to look at more or give more of your attention to. But you can also pay attention to when that animal kind of shows up, whether through media, through like pictures or on television or through your phone, even in the world around you on a poster or a label, and then sometimes in real life. And what happened to me was I opened the blinds in the early morning. We had just gotten a money tree and one of the 5 feet ones. So it's really, really gorgeous. And I wanted to, bring the light onto it. So I was very, very much focused on the money tree. And when I opened the blinds, there was a hummingbird right there, flying so fast, but staying in the one spot. And I do have a connection to hummingbirds with my dad as well. And so that was quite beautiful, the connection, the remembering now as well, because we're coming up to 1 year since he passed. And yeah, so very, very beautiful, beautiful synchronicity, messenger, and that little glimmer, right? And it's one of those moments that feels unbelievable until it happens. And it reminded me of how much I have that experience often in my days and my weeks. So, luckily, because of the work I do, there's so many magical moments that seem unbelievable, but then they happen. And it just shows that there are always opportunities for connection and magic and remembering how alive and connected the world is, even when there is so much that does not feel like that. And that there can be both. That's the reminder that even when there is so much horrifying information and things happening in the world, there is also so much beauty and magic and connection. And I do feel like all of the bad, because it is truly, there is so much bad and you could call evil in the world. Focusing on it too much, giving too much attention is how we create such a disconnection from each other. So please make sure that you're balancing being a witness to all of the bad, all of the horrific and evil and cruel, unfair, unjust, inhumane. Make sure you're balancing that with all that is beautiful and connected and loving, because there is so much of that too. And that's what the hummingbird really helped to remind me of this week. And for anyone in their grief, just sending so much love to you and your heart. And anyone who is new listening, welcome, and welcome back to everyone who has been here with me before. And yes, I appreciate you so, so much. A bit of a reminder, very quickly, that these energy updates come from my intention with my intuitive senses. I go into a meditation with the intention to receive insight and guidance through imagery and messages and through my intuitive senses to translate what we may need to know about the week ahead. But of course, if you're listening to this in the future, that means that this message is for you in the future too. So trust what resonates, trust what doesn't. Really take what feels like a message for you, use it as a way to discern with your own intuition. Use these energy updates as a way to develop your intuition, as a way to know when something is a yes and when something is a no. Equally important. All right, so let's dive into your energy update for the week of February 23rd I'll share what came through in the meditation, and then I will share the animal, and then I will share some writing prompts, journal prompts, some soul questions to help you dive deeper into what you need to know or remember for this week ahead. Okay, so when I first opened up the meditation, you and I, the person in the meditation that represents us, we were standing on the ground, but we were in the ocean. So we were in the ocean, but the ocean was swirling waves around us. But we weren't being pulled. We were very steady and secure. It even felt a bit protective, the water, but we were paying attention to the swirling. It was swirling back and forth. The water was all around us. It felt like something was moving, like we are moving, not even through, but with something this week. The water being such a symbol of our emotional landscape, of our intuition, of so much of our creativity as well. Something is being kind of pulled together from the past and the future in some way to create something new with this steady, secure foundation that we are moving through. And as that water was moving all around us, the clouds above us, because there were clouds, all of the sudden I was focusing on the clouds above us, and then they broke, and then the sun beamed down. So down through, over the water and us. So is there a sort of breakthrough that could be coming this week? Maybe for some of us. It felt like there could be illuminating insights, some clarity is focusing on a part of our life that now, because it was so bright and clear and those clouds moved away, broke through, it felt like something will be illuminated. That clarity will never be clouded over again. Something that we won't ever be able to unsee in a good way for our greater good. And it also kind of feels like a call, more of a mission being given. Something is breaking through, clouds are opening up, the cloudiness of whatever we weren't seeing before. The sun is shining on it, illuminating new insights, allowing us to feel even more secure. But with all of this water, creativity, emotional landscape, emotions rushing around us, it's a lot of energy and movement, but not in a furious way, in a intentional way. And then when that sun breaks through in the meditation, then it created a rainbow, created through the water around us from the light. So even though there was a lot of movement and swirling and spiraling of the water all around us, we were steady and secure, and we were able to see the rainbow of light that was created, this new clarity and understanding, a new vision that the focus clarity brings that light, maybe even to the swirl of emotion we're moving with. It feels like some of us are still being asked to let go of anything from the past that is not feeling clear, to revisit and fully release what we are maybe attached to because we are constantly trying to figure out why. And then, even as I'm saying that, I feel like a pressure in our heart, in the heart space. So, maybe a focus on our hearts this week to kind of release any pressure we're feeling, because the pressure in the heart space feels like it's from our shoulders, from the pressure of responsibility and what we feel we should be doing, that it's causing like a contraction in our heart. And so if this feels true for you, then maybe you need to take a minute this week to write down, connect to what you're feeling pressure from, pressure about, who you're feeling pressure from. Like, what do you feel you should be doing as opposed to what are you feeling called to do? What are you feeling a pull or inspiration to do? When you have a moment and your mind kind of moves towards something, what are you thinking about? Because the energy of the should, that creates a weight, that creates the pressure, and not in a pressure creates diamonds kind of way, more of a cave collapsing in and we can't get out kind of way. So the energy of a should creates a weight that we don't need, an unnecessary weight. And the energy of a pull or a calling, that brings an openness and an expansion. But sometimes it can bring with it that expansion, that openness, that call to open can bring fear or anxiety too, because it feels uncomfortable and unfamiliar. Often we're very used to the feeling of the pressure of the should and kind of holding it all. So, what are you feeling weighted pressure from? And how can you balance that even? Not even giving you more pressure to let it go, but how can you balance that with putting your focus on that pull or that calling that brings more of that expansion and that openness? What are you being called to focus on? Maybe even what have you been consciously hiding from the light of clarity? What do you not want your light or the light of clarity to find? How can your emotions help to protect and guide you? Getting back to a practice to connect with the energy swirling around you, the sea of energy that we can tap into through our emotions, through our hearts, that sea of energy that connects us to the past and the present and the future. How can you reach for that and find something that you need? Find the clarity and release what you don't. Whatever you're reaching for, kind of up and outside of you, is available right now. I mean, it's literally a part of you. You don't have to go outside of yourself. You just have to remember what you're already connected to and what is already available for you if you just move your focus to it and your intention. Because, I mean, I already said it at the beginning, but because we're not separate, the illusion of disconnection. The words of the year, I'll call them, my favorite words now, omnia unus est, that we are all one. Everything is one, everything is connected. How can you bring your energy back to that? So, what are you forgetting that you already have available to you? That is also a really big part of this week. And how can you trust your emotions without being swept away by them? There's like a maturity this week. That's what it feels like. There's a maturity that is available that some of us need to keep going into this calling and this pull and this new light that we cannot unsee. So how can you allow and trust what is feeling pulled, your momentum, what you're feeling pulled to do from within? How can you trust that to lead you? Even if it's going against what you're feeling pulled to do outside of you, because that's more of the should. What could you do this week? What's possible? So, a very kind of clear, shorter scene in my meditation, but very clear for what some of us may experience and what the opportunities are. And then there was an animal in the scene in my meditation in the water. And it's funny because I feel like there is kind of a spiritual lesson for me specifically when this animal shows up, because I immediately am like, no, that can't be the animal. Like, I really am. And I don't know if it's because there is like phobia around them and it's not really the most glamorous of animals or the most like known of the animal that you would like want to come through. But the animal is a mouse. There was a very cute, I will say I don't have that phobia, luckily. I have others, but not that one. It was a very cute mouse swimming in the water around us, not getting swept away, like really strong and cute. And when I was writing about all of the notes after the meditation, I thought, can mice even swim? And I looked it up and they can. Not to, sorry for anyone with a phobia of mice. Don't use that to fuel any phobia. But the mouse was swimming and that is a real thing they can do. So I do have to trust my intuition. The mouse is for us this week. And also, just to help reframe mice a little bit for you, reframe the mouse if you do have a bit of a different opinion about them. I I always feel like a lot of love for mice because I believe they're like 98% of medical research, and all of that research has helped humanity deeply. Even though I do believe that we have the technology where we can recreate what we use live mice for, so we don't need to research or test on animals anymore. I know from when I've looked into it, it's a lot more expensive. So right now, more inexpensive to use animals. And because there is a lot of less money for research at the moment for many reasons. So, anyways, hopefully one day we won't have to use live mice in so many ways for our own benefit. But let's give some respect to the mouse. Because through all of that research, we've discovered, which is not a surprise, that they have sentience, that they do feel emotion, that they have bonding connection. So that means they suffer as well. And suffering and sacrificing for us, we got to give some respect to it. So we have the mouse. And before I go into the energy of the mouse, I wanted to just look at when it was, because it doesn't feel that long ago when we had the mouse already. And it wasn't. It was the week of December 7th, 2025. So not long ago at all. And when we have a recurring animal, check in. What was happening the week of December 7th? What were you thinking about? What were you focusing on? What were you feeling called to do, inspired to do? Was there any big lesson you were learning? What were you trying to let go? What were you trying to step into? Like, really look at the themes because they may be coming around again. But then there was another part that was connecting, is that was the day, December 7th, when we had the last total lunar eclipse, the blood moon. And we're having that again. This is the week that is leading up to next Monday when we have another total lunar eclipse, another blood moon. So there's a lot of synchronicities with this animal. And if you feel inspired, if you get an intuitive pull for what that connection is, trust it. Trust your intuition. And when I looked, that was the week I was really working on a pitch deck for my guided oracle journal. And I haven't talked about it a lot here, but since it was so obvious that that's what I was doing when I looked at my notes, I thought, oh, maybe I should speak about this more, even though I haven't finished that yet or sent it out to any publishing companies yet. I'm still working on it, but this is reminding me, oh, I should really finish that up. And it made me see, oh, maybe I should be sharing the names of these animals in my guided oracle journal because they could be offering some insight as well. So, in my draft of my oracle journal, the mouse is for week 27. So, number 27. It is by the week. I'll share more when it comes to the time. But the number is 27, and the intuitive animal is called the mouse of resourceful courage, number 27. And it really hits resourceful courage. Sounds so much like what I have already shared, what came through the meditation. So, a beautiful connection for this animal for this week. And a 27, 2 plus 7 equals 9. 27 also reminds me of when we come to our first Saturn return. So, a lot of lessons. Maybe there is a lot of Saturn energy this week. And a 9, because we always want to go down to between 1 and 10 when we're looking at the energy of the numbers. If you haven't listened to my numerology episode, go to the end of December and you should see it there. But a 9 is all about endings. It's all about a culmination, a cycle wrapping up. And that's what this week does feel like. I mean, I did share already that for some of us, we may still be letting go, releasing. And there is still one more new year energy threshold that we're moving through, and that's the astrological new year. That's when the spring equinox happens, when we move into the sign of Aries. So we could still be releasing quite a bit, and it does line up with the energy that we're moving through. So, what is still ending? What is still ending so that you can have that beginning that you're feeling called towards? So, when I share more about the mouse and the energy with the themes, trust which theme, which word I share connects to you personally in your life. Trust that because that shares what you may need to focus on for this week. So the mouse represents the energy of attention to details, resourcefulness, fertility, creativity, manifestation, perseverance, life cycles, focus, inner strength, courage, and intelligence. Now, one thing about the kind of facts, the fun facts about mice, they are nocturnal. And that did feel like something we could see as part of some insight as well, that nighttime, is there something around the night that needs your attention? Maybe a new bedtime routine, maybe doing your work at night rather than what you may have been doing in the early morning. And then also, just a few things about mice that I loved, that mice sing. Male mice sing high pitched songs to attract mates. This is a high pitch that human ears can't hear. How sweet is that? And they also have super hearing, and they can hold their breath for up to 3 minutes. So this does feel like, with the mouse coming through for this week, paying attention to what you are able to hear, maybe with your intuitive hearing, maybe you're hearing in a new way. Maybe you need to listen. Maybe you're not listening. And pay attention to your breath. Do you need to breathe more? Are you holding your breath? Is there some breath work you've been feeling called to do? And then just the singing part, something with our throat chakra, our voice. Is there something that your voice is wanting to just share and sing, regardless of who can hear it? What are you feeling called to share from your voice for connection, to attract connection? Not in a romantic way, maybe, but in all the ways. That does feel like what the mouse is helping to inspire this week. And then, of course, I do want to share just a little excerpt from Animal Speak by Ted Andrews, because this did feel like it could be for some of us. So, from Animal Speak by Ted Andrews, a bit more about the mouse. When mouse shows up, it is either time to pay attention to details or an indication that you cannot see the forest for the trees. You may be getting so locked into details that you forget the big picture. Ask yourself some important questions. Are you taking care of the trivial but necessary things in your life? Are you getting so lost in the big dreams that you're neglecting other aspects of your life? Are you becoming so focused on one or two activities that you're neglecting to see other opportunities? Are you missing what is right in front of you? Is there something obvious that you are missing or need to focus on? Are you trying to do too many things at once and thereby scattering your energies? Mouse medicine can show you how to focus and pay attention to detail. It can show you how to attain the big things by working on the little things. Whenever mouse shows up, there are lessons associated with attention. And even everything I shared there, reiterating so much of what I already shared through the meditation. And that was before I looked up more about the mouse. So great connecting threads with the mouse and with what came through in the meditation and with my guided oracle journal with the mouse of resourceful courage, with the total lunar eclipse. And if I was to share anything about the total lunar eclipse, this kind of bookend to this cycle of the eclipse season, from the last new moon solar eclipse to now the lunar eclipse, the one thing I would say is if you're noticing any acceleration of change in your life, pay attention to that. That can be a big wake up from this energy to help you move into that path that you are meant to be walking. Now, the changes and the acceleration and the redirection is not easy, but if you can trust your pull, trust your inner pull, your intuition, your call, what is bringing expansion to you and making you more open, what is asking for courage, what is showing you the resources that you already have to use in this change. That could be what this eclipse is really bringing you. And this episode, particularly, a lot of questions. So, a lot of questions were asked throughout. So, if any of those really stood out to you, answer those. But I do have 4 specific ones. You can use them as writing prompts in your journal, as voice notes to yourself, as just a way to think and kind of muse on what you need to connect with more for this week. So, the first question could be, what are you being called to focus on? And number 2, what have you been consciously hiding from the light of clarity? What have you been maybe afraid to see clearly? And number 3, how can your emotions help you, protect you, and guide you? And number 4, how can you allow and trust your momentum within you to lead? And that could be the momentum of your intuition. That could be the momentum of your inspiration, of that calling, that pull, that nagging internal feeling of like, oh, I could do this. Not the should, but the could. And that brings us to the end of this episode of your Intuitive Week on Intuitive Seek. And I, as always, would love to hear if you resonated with any of the energy that I shared, that we're feeling, that we're moving through for this week. And if you have any other thoughts or questions, go to the show notes. You have all the links to explore how to connect with me and other resources too. And also, please make sure that you are on my newsletter list. I have my Substack emails that go out every Monday, and that is an energetic snapshot that partners with this episode. So sign up for that in the show notes. If you are feeling called to give a bit of extra support, you could share this episode with a friend, or you could leave a review. That would be so kind. Really appreciated. So, yes, thank you so much again. Be also extra kind to yourself and others. And I will talk to you next week.
Hi, Auntie Mary. I just wanted to say something very, very meaningful. Cat.